The accusation spread across the concord of stars in less than a standard hour. A human had kidnapped alien royalty. For most species, that alone was enough to justify orbital bombardment. Humans were still newcomers to the galactic stage, technically advanced, yes, but politically fragile, lacking ancient alliances or entrenched power blocks. They were tolerated because they were useful, adaptable labor, clever engineers, stubborn defenders. But they were not trusted. And now, according to the Volari Imperium, one of their most sacred bloodlines had been violated. The missing royal was Princess Thaleen of Velar, third heir to the Crystal Throne, a species revered for its psionic lineage and near-mythic longevity. Volari royalty rarely left their homeworld, and never without entire fleets of guardians. Yet Thaleen had vanished during a diplomatic transit near the Orion Spur, and the trail ended with a single human ship, the Wayfarer's Mercy. Its captain, registered owner, and sole permanent crew member was Jonah Reed, a human deep space salvage operator with no criminal record, no political ties, and no conceivable reason to abduct an alien princess. Which, of course, made him the perfect scapegoat. Jonah Reed was pulled from hyperspace by Volari warships and escorted, at gunpoint, into the High Tribunal Station. He was disarmed, restrained, and surrounded by beings who could crush his bones with a thought. The chamber shimmered with crystalline light as the tribunal assembled. Volari nobles, Concord observers, and representatives from a dozen species who had come to watch what they assumed would be a very short trial. The lead inquisitor spoke, her voice resonating directly in Jonah's mind. Human Jonah Reed, you stand accused of abducting Princess Thaleen of Velar, heir to the Crystal Throne. Evidence places her last known location aboard your vessel. How do you plead? Jonah swallowed. His wrists ached from the restraints, but his eyes were steady. Not guilty, he said, because that's not what happened. A murmur rippled through the chamber, telepathic shockwaves of disbelief and contempt. You expect us to believe, the Inquisitor continued, that a human salvage operator came into possession of Volari royalty by coincidence. Jonah hesitated. He had replayed this moment 1,000 times in his head during the journey here. No version of the truth sounded sane. She wasn't kidnapped, he said finally. She was dying. That earned laughter, from the non-telepaths, at least. Volari nobles projected disdain like radiation. Explain, the Inquisitor commanded. Jonah took a breath and began. 3 weeks earlier, Jonah had been running a routine salvage skin near an unstable nebula, dangerous territory but lucrative. His sensors picked up a faint distress signal buried under radiation noise. Not a standard beacon. Not military. Something old. Against his better judgment, he followed it. He found a Volari diplomatic cruiser drifting, its hull cracked like shattered glass, energy readings fluctuating wildly. No escorts. No active defenses. Just silence. I thought it was a trap, Jonah admitted to the tribunal. But the life signs were fading fast. He docked, breached the hull, and found the crew, Volari attendants, dead, their crystalline forms fractured and dim. In the central chamber, suspended in a failing psionic cocoon, was Princess Thaleen. Her glow was weak. Her mind, he could feel it brushing against his, fragile and disoriented. She was suffering from neural fracturing, Jonah said. Some kind of psionic overload. I didn't even know Volari could get sick like that. The Inquisitor's eyes narrowed. That condition is fatal without royal medics. Yeah, Jonah replied softly. I figured that out real quick. Jonah had no royal medics. No psionic technology. What he did have was an old experimental human device, something Earth scientists had barely understood themselves. A neural stabilizer. Originally designed to help humans recover from deep space psychosis, it worked by grounding runaway neural activity through controlled electromagnetic feedback. Crude by Volari standards. Dangerous. Untested on aliens. But Thaleen was hours from death. I had a choice, Jonah said. Leave her there and report it. Or try something. He tried. The stabilizer nearly fried his ship's systems. The first attempt failed. The second almost killed him. But on the third attempt, something incredible happened. Thaleen stabilized. Not healed, but alive. Jonah brought her aboard the Wayfarer's Mercy and set course for the nearest Concord medical station. But halfway there, Volari warships locked onto him. They didn't ask questions, Jonah said. They just opened fire. Gasps filled the chamber. The escort fleet had standing orders. The Inquisitor said coldly. Any unauthorized vessel carrying royal signatures was to be neutralized. Jonah's jaw tightened. You nearly killed her yourselves. He didn't fire back. He fled, damaged, barely holding together, jumping blind through hyperspace until his engines failed. He hid in a dead system, rerouting power to life support, staying awake for days to keep the stabilizer running. I didn't kidnap her, Jonah said. I kept her alive. Silence fell over the chamber. The Inquisitor turned inward, consulting with Volari telepaths. Their expressions shifted from certainty to doubt to something dangerously close to alarm. Why, she asked slowly, did the princess not signal for help herself? Jonah looked up. Because she couldn't. That was when the chamber doors opened. Princess Thaleen entered, supported by medical drones, her crystalline form dimmer than the regal holograms the galaxy knew. But she was alive. And conscious. Every Volari present bowed instantly. I did not signal, Thaleen said, her voice weak but clear, because my mind was shattered. I did not know who I was. She turned her luminous gaze toward Jonah. But he stayed. The tribunal erupted. You entrusted yourself to a human? One noble projected in disbelief. I had no choice, Thaleen replied. And yet, I would choose it again. She explained what Jonah could not fully understand. The Volari psionic network, the source of their power, had been degrading for generations. Their minds were growing too interconnected, too resonant. Thaleen's condition was not an accident. It was the first visible symptom of a species-wide collapse. Human neural architecture, chaotic and decentralized, acted as a stabilizing counterbalance. Jonah's crew device had worked not despite being human, but because it was. Your species survives because your minds do not resonate in unison, Thaleen said. You are discordant, individual, resilient. The Volari had dismissed humanity as primitive. They had been wrong. If he had not intervened, Thaleen continued, I would be dead, and the truth of our condition would have died with me. The accusation collapsed in real time. The tribunal withdrew. Deliberation took minutes. Jonah Reed was cleared of all charges. But the shock did not end there. The Volari Imperium formally requested human assistance, joint research, shared technology, neural diversity programs. For the first time in their history, the Volari admitted they needed help. From humans. Jonah was offered wealth, titles, permanent residence on Velar Prime. He declined. I'll help, he said, but I'm not royalty. I'm just a guy who didn't want someone to die alone.